Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Casper Network, aka Casper. So let's dive in and let's talk about a few things. So it's been a very long time since I actually made a video on Casper. I know that I've been kind of slacking on the Casper content. It's just because there's so many things to really kind of look at right now around this market. There's a lot of gems. There's a lot of things to keep a close eye out on. Don't worry, I still am accumulating Casper on almost a weekly basis now because I do see the major upside on this token still. We have been looking at it. We've been addressing the price action. I think that just recently in the 3-month span, I told you guys, like, this price action move was nothing like too exciting. Like I know that we went to almost hit like 4 cents, which is great off of like these lows because it's nearly a 2x. But it wasn't anything special to really kind of, say, all right, well, yeah, now we're going much higher. We're still in a bearish formation on Bitcoin, which tells me that we will see a lower low or possibly even a higher low. And I know that that is kind of, conceding because it's like, all right, well, are we actually expecting? I'm expecting a full-on bottoming situation happening around the fall timeframe. That's what I have been looking at closely as like a current bear market average daily span is around like 300 to 400 days. And that would put us right in place in the fall timeframe for us to officially bottom out. That is what I'm watching closely for, but I still am taking advantage of some of these price action moves in this market. But what I am watching for is Bitcoin dominance, and Bitcoin dominance has been looking like it is about to spike up, which tells me that it's actually better to be holding Bitcoin right now than altcoins. And no, that doesn't mean to go and sell your altcoins and buy Bitcoin. I'm just saying, altcoins will most likely see a little bit more pain going forward, which I am actually hoping for on tokens like Casper, where I could scoop up a lot more for a lot less. And if that makes sense to a lot of people out there, then you have been watching this channel closely for a while, because I tell you guys to maximize your dollar amount. And how do you do that? Well, you DCA in on every single major drop. And I have been watching a few targets. We've been watching that 2.5 cent zone, that 2 cent zone, and of course the 1.5 cent zone. And these are all the ICO pricing. Actually, 3 cents was the last official one, and then from there it was like the 2 cent zone and then the 1.5 cent zone. Will we ever see this 1.5 cent zone? I'm not too sure, but if we do, I will be heavily buying Casper. But I did talk to you guys a little bit on Twitter. I did tweet out this saying, enterprise and financial use cases take time to morph into existence. This is why I have patience with HBAR, XRP, Casper, QNT, and many others. We have been watching this market closely around Casper. We've been watching this market closely around HBAR. A lot of these tokens that are focused on businesses, that are focused on, financial use cases and enterprises, they take time. Remember, a lot of these use cases and even partnerships are locked into an NDA. This is why I always say, like, pay attention, to what's happening behind the scenes. If you could find like PDF files, if you could find things where it kind of says like, all right, well, we're utilizing this specific, like I even see this with Hedera, right? You kind of look up Hashgraph for their consensus. You can kind of see direct connections with like MTech with CBDCs. This is what I'm trying to find with Casper. It has been a lot harder compared to like Hedera because, Casper has not been around as long as Hedera. So we have been still trying to research and find a lot of things, but it's just not easy at all with Casper. A lot of the things are hidden very well. But we have been watching a few things. And what we have been watching is the ecosystem. The ecosystem has been flourishing. In fact, if you actually go over here to CasperBlockchain.io, their website is a little bit rough. It's very slow. It's kind of laggy, but it does give you a good insight on where we are at currently. There's over 143 projects right now on Casper. This includes quite a bit. If you go and check out the NFT sector, it gives you a full-on breakdown of the NFTs. But what I have been focused on actually is the DeFi sector. This is what I have been focusing on a little bit more compared to most, because remember what I told you guys about with like even Hedera, like the DeFi sector is where a lot of the money actually is. Even if you go over to CoinMarketCap actually, and you go to the categories tab, if we go to DeFi here, you could see how much money is actually locked in on DeFi. It's over $55.6 billion. So this is a substantial amount. And remember, at the all-time highs of this market, this was well worth over almost $200 billion plus. It's a very large aspect of this market. And we do see that the DeFi space on, Casper has been growing rapidly. There's over 3 tabs here with over, I believe that this is like almost 20 plus projects. Yeah, it's almost 20 plus projects here, which is still substantial. And this is not only the other like major names here are also in like major areas like, CFI or Oracle's wallets, etc., or even building on Casper. A lot of these projects that are building out on Casper are building out some pretty substantial things. Like we always really kind of look at like IPWE. We look at a few other ones as well, like around, like even DevXDAO. But there's also major other, players here like .oracle that are building out bridges on Casper that are going to allow for a lot more adoption, a lot more development as well. But you got to remember that Casper is still extremely new, so there's not going to be a ton of like extremely bullish names on here. One of the major ones that we really kind of look at is, IBM. IBM is like one of the biggest ones that Casper has directly tied to it at this current moment in time. But I do hope to see a lot more added to the list by the end of this year. And we actually do see over here from Casper Labs themselves, what can you expect to see from Casper in the next coming months? Find out in this thread. Improved documentation for developers looking to build on Casper. We've heard your feedback and we're committed to making Casper the most accessible blockchain for developers. Remember, they are built out for developers, which means that we will see a lot more dApps being built out on Casper as well. Dozens of new projects launching on Casper, which I'm very excited about. Enhancements to Casper's open infrastructure that will enable developers and non-technical users alike to use and build unique applications around NFTs, including, secure minting and storage environments, additional bridges, decentralized exchanges, auto market makers, and swaps that will provide a more robust foundation for DeFi on Casper, a strong and visible presence both in person and offline within the broader blockchain community. Several events are in the works for fall and beyond. Significant progress on the Casper 2.0 upgrade. Yes, they are still focused on that, ushering in key innovations that will make building on Casper even more accessible to the other 25 million developers worldwide, as opposed to limiting it to less than 1 million developers who know Solidity. Make sure you follow us on LinkedIn for all that's to come. And yes, we have been seeing a lot of noise from Casper on Twitter. There hasn't been like a lot to discuss, hence why I slowed down with the updates, but we have been seeing them continuously build and make some noise similar to other projects that we have been following, and this is lovely to see. And also, we actually do see over here from Casper Labs yet again, when you think about blockchain, it's really about trust. Casper is all about building trust in data. Remember, they also have been, marketing a little bit more. They've been really kind of going all out on some of their hackathons, their conferences, and stuff like that. But we also do see over here, like when you think about blockchain, it's really about trust. Our platform is all about building trust in data. Businesses should all be looking at blockchain as a means of streamlining operations, clearing audits faster, and reducing operational overhead. All with the data that you can't manipulate, that you can't hack. We're very, well suited to help or really help transition us all into a new era of transparency and trust. Remember what I told you guys about a lot of these major businesses. Business workflows are going to be the big thing around crypto. What are they? What have we been really kind of looking at within this? Well, this actually goes hand in hand with what Hedera has focused on with ServiceNow, right? Digital workflows with ServiceNow are huge because they are tapping into the Fortune 500 market, and so is Casper. Casper is focused on the Fortune 500 companies as well. But those digital workflows are changing the core business processing system at the forefront, where individuals are going to be utilizing this technology without even realizing it. And I told you guys multiple times on this channel, that is what we want to see, because that is providing value on the forefront, but it's providing value on the back end for a lot of these major networks like Casper. And we do see over here, Casper Labs, we can help with that. Casper Labs lowers the barrier to entry for blockchain adoption by providing professional services and support for businesses building on Casper. And we do see down here, we're still at the dial-up stage of Web3. And there's not enough user adoption, said Wang. We want to empower founders to come in and build applications that bring more users into the Web3 spheres. And this is what we have been looking at. We've been focused on the Web3 area for a while. There's been a lot of noise around it. It has been really kind of blossoming lately, but it's still extremely early. Remember, we're all extremely early in a space that no one really knows where we are headed. Sure, we can look at this technology. We could see what this technology has been up to within like DLT adoption around like the ECB, Swift, etc. Like the financial use cases are absolutely booming on crypto. But what we really need to look at is just how early Web3 is, because in the next 3 to 5 years, this entire space is going to be extremely different. We've been looking at a few valuations for Web3. It's upwards of 10, 20 to $140 trillion in value. This is absolutely insane. We've been paying attention to this because a lot of these tokens, like Casper, are focused in on the Web3 scene because they also see the potential and the power behind Web3 for a lot of businesses, for a lot of companies, for even retail use cases. And this is only the beginning of what's to come. I'm so excited for what Casper has, built with just the few names that they have on their ecosystem. Like I said, their ecosystem is large. 143 projects, that is nothing to write off. But I'm saying right now, like when we look at a few of the use cases, they don't have a very substantial ecosystem, compared to most. But it is still something to be proud of because Casper has only been out for roughly about a year and 6 months. So when we really kind of look at what Casper has achieved in that, time frame, it is something remarkable. This is what gives me confidence going forward around Casper. It shows me that they mean business. Literally. They are focused on businesses. They are focused on building out the Web3 area. They are onboarding millions of developers into the Web3 area through things like their new update, which is going to be huge with Casper 2.0. I think that this is going to be incredible. Now, are they going to have millions of developers jumping in on, Casper to really kind of, build out on Casper? Not exactly, but it's going to expose Casper to that many developers, which I think that is awesome for a lot more development and a lot of dApps going fully live out on Casper because we are still very early, hence the ecosystem. I could expect that these projects, this number of like 143 projects, to grow by 2, 3, 4, 5x within the next 3 to 5 years, which is huge. And I say 3 to 5 years, and I know that a lot of people out there are probably thinking, that is way too long. I don't mean that you have to wait 3 to 5 years to make gains on Casper. No. In fact, I think that by 2023, by late quarter 3, possibly even quarter 2, this entire market is going to be a little bit diverse within how much money will pour into crypto. But I also think that within the next 2 to 4 years alone, Casper as a token is going to be worth a lot more than what it is now. Now, to me, a lot of these tokens are still a very high-risk bet because we don't specifically know where Web3 is going to go. We don't specifically know where, crypto is going to go. But I will say this. I will take a major bet on the DeFi space compared to CeFi because the innovations that a lot of these major networks and a lot of these major projects have made in just the last few months, even years, has been something that the traditional systems has lacked for, we're talking multiple decades. So to me, Casper and crypto is here to stay. This market is far too big to ignore from the financial use cases, from the business use cases, from the corporation use cases. Things are rapidly growing around the space. There's been a lot of noise being made, and I love the fact that this market is sitting at a $1 trillion market cap. Because to me, this looks like this entire space could easily 10x, 20x, 50x within the next just 8 years alone. And 8 years is not a long time at all to make, life-changing wealth. And life-changing wealth could be whatever you guys make of it. But to me, when we look at, this market, it is extremely undervalued. And a lot of these tokens are as well. And I look forward to what is going to be happening within the next few months and even in just the next year alone. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all. Have a beautiful day, beautiful night, wherever you guys are on this before. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.